Hi, this is Mark. Congratulations. You have found this amazingly awesome show. Chances are you're listening to it right now on whether it's iTunes or Stitcher Radio or some other mobile app that allows you to stream this amazingly awesome show to your ear holes. And I can't stress how awesomely amazing this show really is. But did you know that you can also catch the latest episode of this show on the Tangibound Network? That's right. Go check out tangiboundnetwork.com. You can look them up and you can listen to it right there. It's even mobile friendly. What more could you ask for? Which means you can pull it up on your iPhone or your Android, even your Windows phone. Yeah, who has one of those? But still, point remains, you can do it. You can do it. Check it out, tangiboundnetwork.com. Listen to this show, the latest episode, every time. Check it out.
Welcome to the Wicked Radio Network.
Life sucks to the last drop. Are you gonna blow your head off? Take good aim and don't forget to duck. Life sucks every Monday and all the way to Sunday, but I wouldn't have it any other way. I don't care how you're doing, what's up or how's it hanging. I'd like to buy this world one last drink. And life sucks all of the time, so stick it up your sunshine, and then you'll see the clouds every day. And then you'll see the clouds every day. And then you'll see the clouds every day.
Welcome to the crazy life, everybody. Yes, Brian is trying to make me crack up before the intro, which is not very nice, sir. He's making faces at me right now. Anyways, welcome again, everybody, to the crazy life. Today we have with us, as always, we have Brian and Hanno. Hey, guys.
Yo.
Yo, yo.
Yes, and myself. I'm Jen, for those who haven't been listening. So
How
let's...
dare you?
I know, right?
Not listen.
Whatever, it's what all the cool kids are doing. You want to be cool, don't you?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So, anyways, a little peer pressure of our own.
Yeah. Start the show by peer pressuring. Smart.
Exactly. It's perfect.
Smart. We kid. So let's start with the weeks. How's your guys' weeks been?
Bueno.
That's a good thing.
I'm over. My week's done.
Week's done? Oh, so you got a long weekend?
Yeah, I'm going to end up working on Sunday and Monday, so I'll get tomorrow, and my 3-day weekend starts tomorrow, so just like Memorial Day.
That's fun.
Yeah, and I had a kick booty week, so it's nice to go out winning.
Mm-hmm. Always good to be going out winning. Any highlights?
Yeah, actually, resolution on last week's topic of the work-related stuff. Got into work on Monday, and I had been bothered by the whole situation all weekend long. And something about it just did not sit well with me. Mm-hmm. I didn't quite know what. And then I was at work on Monday, and my GM comes up to me and starts asking me about, and anyone that has no idea what I'm talking about, you didn't listen to last week's episode, so you better just stop right now and go back and listen to it.
Shame.
Because you know who I am. If you don't know what that refers to, then you need to go back about 07 episodes.
Catch up, people. Catch up.
Seriously. We can't explain all the inside jokes.
I know. So at any rate, it was, in a nutshell again, kind of am I, I'm going over my GM's head and is, what's my motive for that and all this kind of stuff and blah, blah, blah. And I realized on Monday, he came up to me to talk about something else related to it. And I went, you know what? I'm going to talk to him about it, because that's who I am. I communicate. I don't do emails behind somebody's back. That's me having a justified resentment. And I can't afford to do justified resentments. Doesn't make me feel good.
Right.
I mean, it doesn't. I used to harbor many of them, and I used to drink over many of them.
Yeah, right.
And I used to let people rent space in my head, and I would have lots of conversations, and the itty bitty committee would be in full on effect all the time because, darn it, I have a justified resentment. And right at that moment, it clicked. It's like, no, that's not who I am. I'm the guy that gives people another chance. Because I would like people to treat me that way. I communicate. I have that ability. I don't need to, do things the other way. And so I brought it all up. I talked about it, and he said, great, let's do it this afternoon. And so I sent an email off to various people that were important saying, this issue's done. We're going to take care of it.
Nice.
Nice.
Yeah. And so I ran into the person that one of the people that's part of our HR committee, and he came up to, and there were some other concerns though, that were legit. And so I had an opportunity to talk to him about it too. And because there has been too much of this inaction, having to push people to do what they're supposed to do kind of stuff. And I'm sure it's just from a bit of reluctance to kind of jump back in, into after we had a big shakeup, and not everyone walks out of that feeling like empowered. Some people don't. Some
Right.
people get afraid, and it's understandable. And I realize that, as much, so, we all need some encouragement every once in a while. So that felt really good. I mean, that just like, okay, that's done. I'm excited. Now let's get on with the week. And then I had an opportunity to do, when I do I call it sweating copper, but soldering copper pipes together. We literally have pipes in this one room, copper pipes that spring leaks like all the time, like just holes appear out of nowhere. It is, and I didn't know why until I started fixing. This stuff's literally corroding from the inside out, and it's only 12 years old. Never even seen anything like it. At one point, I was fixing one leak when all of a sudden, and I went to go test it, and I'm like, sweet, it's, no leaks. And then all of a sudden from a pipe, 5 feet away, I was like, it was like right out of a Bugs Bunny cartoon or something.
That's exactly what I was thinking.
It was like fingers in a dam. It was a riot. I just because I love to hate doing copper because it could be the most frustrating thing in the world, but it's also, for me, the most satisfying when I turn the water on and none of my joints leak. They're all solid. I mean, that feels great. I feel very accomplished. And yeah, at the end of the day, I had one little leak. I went to go fix it. I fixed it. I'm like, okay, turn on the water. And all of a sudden, just from the left side, there's just water. I can just hear it. And I look over, I'm like, what the hell? It's literally just pouring out of this because everything's insulated. So I tear the pipe insulation off, and it's just literally like 4 little holes. I was like, okay, I wrapped it with some rubber and some hose clamps. I'm like, those will wait till tomorrow.
Oh, geez.
It was a riot. Yeah, and so when I left work today, nothing was leaking. I had everything had its insulation back on it, and I was like, cool, job done. Because it's been 4 months. We just keep band-aiding them and band-aiding them and band-aiding them. And the ones we fix are ones that actually leak in a room, somewhere where, like in the locker room or something. And this is in a mechanical room. So it didn't really matter. But yeah, it was wild. One thing I took apart, it was literally crumbling in my hands. And I just couldn't believe it hadn't literally just fallen apart. It's unreal. I've never seen anything like it. It was pretty cool. So, but yeah, it's a nice little, quick little 4-day work week done. Feel good. And I got and my general manager gave me a copy of our new employee handbook to take home and read. So I'm like, yeah, I'll read it with coffee tomorrow. I'll send you my comments.
Yeah.
And it's cool. That was really neat. I think kind of a byproduct of me opening up that communication with him again and just saying, like not saying it like, I know I told you this once before, but just saying, hey, if we make a few changes to this program, it's going to work out. I think it'll really work out great. And it's not that big of a deal. And, by opening that dialogue again, I think it, like any time you treat someone with respect, they're going to show that respect back to you.
Sorry for cutting you off, but I think what you just said there's really, really important for people in case anyone missed that point, is that you didn't go in with a I have to be right mentality. You went in with a let's work this out, let's do what's best for everyone concept. Even if it was about being right, but you know what I mean? Again, being right on the distorted thinking worksheet. But that's why I'm pointing it out is that if you were going in with a I told you so mentality, things may not have progressed as well as they could have in the dialogue. Yeah. Because you could go in with a I told you so, they could have a like this again. I know who you are, Henno. Like that kind of. But you get what I'm saying. You could have two people kind of with some resentment rather than an open dialogue and get where you needed to get by the end of the conversation. So, that's why these changes in thinking are very important when you approach other people with them. Because just that little change in your framing can make a huge difference in a conversation with someone else.
It really, and it's the reason why my boss is the guy that sends, the emails to somebody else, rather than having communication, because I don't think he's capable of doing it. He something in him, and he does it just so he doesn't get into confrontation with people.
Right.
I've accepted that as part. That's one of his tools.
That's good on him for recognizing that and utilizing that, though. Because some people would just be like, meh, and just fire it off.
Yeah, and unfortunately, it's already been really bad between the two of them. The two of them just don't get along. They just don't. And I feel like, okay, here's my opportunity to kind of be in the middle. What was wild is two other things that happened, and one of them was my victory for the week, because it's something that I've had an issue with before, is as soon as I sat down with the computer and I watched I watched my GM working on the computer, it's like he just hasn't spent a lot of time around computers. He doesn't understand the shortcuts. He hasn't learned all those things. Yeah. And I'm sitting here like, you can double click that this kind of level of stuff, and right away it's just like that little part in my brain that wants to go like, God, you can't believe this guy can't even, and it's like, no, that's not important. What's important is that we're working towards a solution right now, and you've been given an opportunity. I have been asked to help somebody else.
Yeah.
That is awesome. That is something and I've had this problem where it's like that little bit of a superiority complex wants to turn around and make fun of somebody. That's like that little, can you believe the GM doesn't even know how to, it's like, no, it's okay, because there are things that I don't know also.
Right. Yeah.
And I would hate for someone to turn around and go, can you believe that? It's like,
right.
No, I don't. So why would I do it? Well, there's this little part of me that, who doesn't want to feel slightly superior to somebody else?
Right,
It's like, we all have our moments. So I clamped that shut. And what was really wild was after we presented everything today, they had a staff meeting because I wasn't going to be there tomorrow. And I presented everything. My boss was a little unhappy about some stuff. And I found that very interesting. It's like, hey, we've come up with a solution that, like you said, is good for everyone. But it maybe didn't accomplish one of the things that he wanted. Mm-hmm. And it was interesting to see his body language and the way the questions he asked afterwards. It reminded me that he is somebody that is not he's not a negotiator. You have to be able to walk away going, okay, it's good. We got somewhere out of this.
Yeah.
Didn't get everything I wanted.
Yep.
All this kind of stuff, but hey, it's good. And I don't think he has that in him. And it was a little reminder today that also for me, like, hey, I can't make everybody be happy. I can't.
Yeah.
I just love the fact that last week you were asked to do something by someone in a higher position than you. And instead of following orders, basically, and going along with the path, you thought about it and you reconciled it with who you want to be and who you are. And you said, that's not me. And it's so easy for us to the easy road is when there's someone in a authority position over us, whether it's by a job, whether it's by a family title, or just by your, you put them in an authority place in your life. When that person tells you or asks you to do something, it's very difficult to follow your own path on that. It's hard to step back and say, you know what? I appreciate that. I appreciate what you would like me to do, but that's not how I do things. Here's how I would like to do things, and this is how I'm going to do things. And that takes so much strength and so much character to be able to think about things, to figure out for yourself what's going to make you happiest, and how do I put that into action with the best results. Yes, not everyone's going to be happy. Yes, things may not turn out to be the exact way that everybody wants it to be, but in the end, you're going to be able to sleep better at night. You're going to be able to be good with yourself because you didn't let someone else dictate to you what you should do. You took it upon yourself and said, no, this is what I know I need to do. Mm. So that's a huge thing.
It is because the old me, the people pleasing person, wants to make everybody happy, but today, it was obvious that this did not sit well with me, that it was not part of who I am today to do this, that I have learned tools to do things a different way, and I have to honor that because I don't have a means to just blot it out any longer. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I have to be very happy with my decision making, and I have to be able. It has to be something that I can handle. Mm-hmm. And I think it's easy to have behaviors and be okay with things when you have means of obliterating them, whatever it is.
Oh yeah,
absolutely.
And I don't have that anymore. I have to sit in my feelings. Yeah. I don't get to drown them out in anything, and that's why I like these ideas that I have been taught. Which is, I can't afford these. Normal people can do justified resentment. I can't.
Yeah.
I can't. It's very obvious to me. I'm a sensitive, delicate flower now.
You've got the feels.
But even more than that, I felt like I'm actually adulting.
Yeah.
Yes.
You know what I mean? I was just like, because when I talked to that one member of the HR committee, I'm like, that's not me. I mean, I'm glad I supported him. I'm totally happy that I supported him because the issue is the issue was there. It was a real issue. This wasn't getting taken care of. Mm-hmm. It wasn't being fixed the right way. So I'm okay that I supported him. And it led to, hey, now let's work that out later. But the issue at hand was communication can fix this. Mm. It can. And it turned out that it was perfect because my GM's leaving for 10 days in about a week. And he wanted this all kind of taken care of anyway before he left.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, it was timing and I get to feel good about myself. And it's just a reminder that I have this reading that I like to bring up every once in a while. And it talks about that I have a responsibility to act appropriately and to try to do things in a kind manner. There is nothing wrong with that. There is no reason I can completely disagree with people. I can have completely different opinions and thoughts and patterns, and I can still approach the solutions in a responsible and kind way.
Yeah. Wait. Are you saying you can disagree with someone but not scream and post inappropriate comments and call their mother foul names? This is the internet, sir. We will have none of this.
We'll have none of that.
None of this.
Exactly.
Yeah, I agree with you. It's so much better to be around people that are that way, you know?
Absolutely.
Like that's who I seek in life. It's, you know, don't get me wrong, it's fun and it's, you know, funny sometimes to just have ridiculous responses to things, but even then it's more about the absurdity of that in jest, but in real situations you don't want that. You don't want people behaving that way, you know? Yeah. Like you may joke about how, you know, you'd flip a table over, or I was about to this or this. But in reality, if someone flips a table over as a response to something, you're like, what is going on here? Like, this is not okay. You know, like, so if something escalates to that point, you're like, why can't we just sit here, disagree, and understand that we're humans. We're going to disagree. It's just going to happen. Not every time a group of people sits down, almost every time, everyone isn't going to be happy with the resolution. You know, it's not going to be 100%. It's just never going to be that way. You know, it's very, very rare if it is, you know, and let's just be adults about it and get up and go, okay, well, next time we'll all try harder to get closer to 100% for everyone. But again, knowing that odds are we'll still never hit 100%, you know?
On a personal note, kind of brought something up in my mind, is one of my rules to live by that I have for myself is if I invest time, energy, and emotion in a situation, especially an argument, if I have a disagreement or an argument with someone, there will be a resolution, which gets kind of interesting in a personal life because, as we know, we can kind of bicker, and you know, people have a tendency to you know, argue about some silly stuff. But I refuse to go there with someone without a resolution, even if the resolution is I won't say that again because obviously it pisses you off. That is a resolution then. We've come to terms on something. So whenever I have a disagreement with someone or whatever, I always we talk it out, work it out, whatever we need to do. But I will not spend my time and energy and emotions on something that has no point. There will be a point if we have to stay here all day and figure it out. There's going to be a darn point for this. So, but yeah, that's something. And different partners of mine have looked at me quite funny when I've told them that after fighting, it's like, what have we learned from this? Like, what are you talking about? It's like,
yeah. Most people don't want to go there.
It's like, no. We're not leaving this moment until we say what we're taking away from this. It's like, okay. Saying those pants like you look fat was not a good choice. Okay, good. I'm glad you've learned that. I learned I'm a little sensitive about how I look. Great. We've learned something. Let's move on.
Yeah. How about you, Brian?
Telling you, it works. They think twice about picking a fight with me. Let me tell you.
I'm telling you. I feel like my mom is like, "Sammy, now what did we learn today?"
Yep. What did we learn? We're not leaving this room until we figure this out. What did we take away? Got to be a gain from this because otherwise we just wasted an hour of our time.
Oh, that's good.
Saying. Next time you and Sharon start getting into something, I'm telling you, she'll never pick a fight with you again.
Yeah, she will.
Yeah, we actually, it's those are always fun things to compare to my relationship because of our both of us have a recovery background. Both of us are 12-step members. One huge step is, what is my part? So we are always seeking our part anyway. So that's never an issue.
Right.
And once again, just to remind everybody that the reason I look for my part is because I can't change other people. I can only change myself.
Right.
And even if I don't think I had a part, I will find one just so I can walk away with something that I know that I can work on. And it's about getting into solutions, and it's about no longer pointing the fingers at others and accepting that, hey, if two of us got into an argument, it didn't happen all by itself with one of us. If I was engaging, I had something to do with it. Something.
Yeah.
You know, there's, you know, short of when people get into talking about their, you know, their amends over their lifetime and this kind of stuff. And for the most part, anything where two people were involved, you know, everyone had a part in there with some exceptions. And that would be if you're a child,
right?
And it's something with your parent, then no, you didn't, you know, that's not your fault kind of stuff.
A perfect example of that was a couple of weeks ago when you mentioned that phone call that you got, or your friend,
oh yeah, my friend, yeah,
where we were talking about how he was clearly, you know, hurt or feeling hurt or whatever, and he was looking to engage you, and you were like, I'm not going to engage you, like I'm not going to do this, and there you go. There was no conflict essentially because
actually you're right.
You
I
did
don't
not
have to go back
engage.
And apologize for anything. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
I actually said nothing.
Right. You did not engage.
So
there was no. Yeah. So there's your. Yeah. And even then, though, you still looked for your part.
I still did. I still did find
so,
something that I'm like, well, I could have done this differently.
Right.
You know, even then.
So then, you still looked for your part in it.
Yeah. Because ultimately we become face to face with somebody, and I want to have something to say that's actually legitimate.
Right.
Because that does help to get to what you're talking about, Jen, which is some sort of, you know, solution, resolution, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
You know, but my main thing today is I don't want to have to make amends to people, so I just try not to go there to begin with.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, because you don't want to have to. I mean, literally, like if anyone's listened to WTF with Mark Maron, like the first year-ish of that podcast was pretty much him bringing on people going, hey, I was a real jerk to you. Kind of sorry about that. I mean, that was pretty much the beginning of almost every interview he did with people. Was I was a real jerk for a long time. I'm working on it. I'm sorry.
Wow.
And then ending it with, are we good? I mean, that was literally his podcast.
Huh.
And it was him working through a lot of baggage with people. I mean, there's some stuff in with some of these people that were like, people would sit down and be like, you were a real, you know, real jerk to me kind of a thing, you know, and him basically just taking it right on the chin, you know, and, you know, so in like listening to that, I was kind of having the same thing you just said, Hannah. It's like, I don't want to be that guy. I don't want to be, you know, 50 years old looking back at life going, man, I have to go apologize to everyone for how I treated them in life. And I don't feel that I need to, but you know, cause I'm a narcissist, but,
exactly. I was just going to say,
no, I'm kidding. Do you know who I am? No, no. But you know what I mean? It's like, you know, I just in life would never want to be that guy, you know, and a lot of his had to do with a lot of things, but it's still like that. You just don't want to be that person, you know. You shouldn't want to be that person anyway, you know.
Well, and that kind of goes back to another one of my personal rules. I try to live by to the best of my ability. Not perfect, but I try. Which is, don't say something about someone that you won't say to their face.
Yeah.
You know, and I hold myself accountable. If I talk about someone and they're not there, I tell them.
Yeah.
I force myself. I'm like, all right, you're going to pay for this later. If you're going to say it now, you're going to pay for it. You're going to have to face them and say, you know what? We were talking the other day about such and such, you know, and it sucks sometimes. It sucks hard. You know, it's almost like punishing myself, but I know that if I don't do it, I'm going to live with it. Yeah. And it's much worse what I'll do to myself than taking those few minutes on the chin and, and just sucking it up, take a few minutes on the chin, talk it out with the person, and moving past it.
It's anything in life. If you did it, own it. It seriously is so much easier than making excuses and lying. It's so much easier. I know so many people dread it, and the dread is always worse than just facing stuff, or almost always. There's times, but...
And most people appreciate it. I mean, have I ever ran into a situation, I don't think I've ever ran into a situation, honestly, where I've brought something to someone and they weren't at least gracious about it. Yeah. At least thanking me for being honest with them. They may not like it. They may not be happy with, we may not be friends, but at least they appreciate the fact that I am true to who I am, and that, they can at least trust that what I'm saying is coming from a good place, a good enough place anyways. Maybe the action wasn't the best action in the world to do, but at least this person's owning it and bringing it to me versus hearing about it from someone else.
Yeah.
And it's just, it's living with yourself. It's making those decisions, hard as they can be sometimes, that is going to support yourself, support your mental health, and help you live the life you want to live. That's all that's your ultimate goal for everyone. It should be your ultimate goal, is to live your life the way you want to live it in the healthiest way you know how. And being true to yourself is the only way you're going to get there.
Right. And that's, going back to, that's, what Heno basically was telling us, with his situation with work. That's, that's, the situation didn't chew right for him, and he, got it to where it fit who he is, so that, at the end of the day, all the chips were on the table, and, and it came out the way it did. And he knows that he did things, in the fashion that he didn't betray himself in the process. And that's always the best, you didn't, never sacrificing yourself for, just to please someone else. You didn't, you didn't compromise yourself in that.
Right. Now, Brian, how was your week?
Pretty, I mean, it's been pretty uneventful. It's, other than, the last couple of days I've had some, pretty wicked back spasms that I get from time to time, which they just suck. It's from, I hurt my back when I was a kid, and, I just occasionally will get just some back spasms for a day or three, and they're a lot better today. So yeah, they just come and go, and it's weird. I've talked to, I've had, x-rays and such done on my back, and there's no, you guys still hear me?
Yeah, yes. I can.
Okay. Just making sure my camera shut off. Anyway, but they've, run stuff on my back, and there's no damage or anything. It's just something about it. I don't know. There was some pop when I was like a teenager. I lifted something and turned, and when I did, there was a pop in like my lower back. And ever since then, off and on, I get these weird back spasms from time to time. I don't have any idea why. So,
how's it going with the medicine?
Which medicine? The antidepressant? Yep. It seems to be going all right. Like I feel the floor for sure on it now.
Good.
Like I definitely feel, again, like there's, I can't push down past a certain point, which has been really good.
That's great.
Yeah, it's so weird when I describe that to people, because it always is such a weird thing to describe to somebody.
Sure.
Like, there's a floor, and they just look at me funny most of the time, because it's like, well, I don't know how to tell you, but it's like with depression, it feels like there's no floor. Like you feel like you could just fall, and like into the darkest of pits. But it feels like things have kind of leveled a little bit for me. So, which is good. Yeah, it's not a bad thing. So I go back to the psychiatrist in a few weeks, and then, we'll talk about where everything's at. But the floor is a really good thing because the floor always allows you to see, once you feel that's there, then you can go, okay, well, how can I build on this? Now I have stability. Can I start putting my feet on this and start walking? Can I start running? Can I start jumping? Can I start, like from that point? And, that's where the work begins, basically. The floor gives you the ability to start really, laying groundwork and,
and building yourself back up.
Yeah, exactly. But you've got to have that floor again. And it's nice to feel that it's there a little bit, so hopefully,
Good.
yeah. And like I said, I feel it because there's been days where I'm depressed, but it feels like it hits a point and it's like, nope, almost like if you were trying to run through a wall, like it's the same idea, like I want to get on the other side and the wall's like, no, not so much.
Yeah.
So.
Right. Oh, that's awesome. Well, good. I'm glad that,
cool.
that
yeah, and that's
it's
what
positive for you.
Yeah, and that's what you're looking for, because again, antidepressants aren't going to make you happy. That's not how they work. They help. It's a tool. It just helps you along the way. So
helps you gain some footing. That's awesome.
Yeah,
cool.
But yeah, that's been about it. It's like I said, luckily the others subsiding. Even though I missed getting to go to a baseball game last night, which made me mad. Because you know how much I love baseball, so
I do.
And
yeah,
I really enjoy going to baseball games. So,
well, that's too bad that you had to miss out on that.
Yep, but nothing you can do. It's just
it's life.
Yeah, and I'm trying to think. That's about it. So it was weird. We had rain go through here the other day, right? For like 15 minutes. The wind was crazy. It was pouring rain, and all this, and there was no weather alerts or anything really other than, hey, you're going to get some rain for 15 minutes, right? Just dumps on us, rains like crazy, and then you can tell it's starting to let up. I'm looking at my phone going, oh yeah, the system's just about through here, and then just before it ends, our power goes out, and it's like 85, 88 that day, super humid,
right?
And I'm like, oh man. And I'm like, come on, come back on. But right after or around the time it went out, I heard this popping noise outside, not near the house, but a good distance from where we live.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh man, don't tell me that's a box or whatever out there, And sure enough, the power went out. And it sucked because it kept raining. It wasn't pouring, but it was still raining to where you don't want to open windows. And even if you did, it was still humid, even though the system was pushing the humidity past. But it was still a little while before the humidity broke. So even if we opened the windows, it would have been humid. But then you start getting really stuffy inside.
Yeah.
And for those who don't know me, I almost always have air moving on me. I'm always by a fan or near air conditioning or whatever when I can be.
It's so your hair blows in the wind.
It is.
Of course.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Oh man, I'm sitting there and it's as soon as the power goes off, I start sweating. And and nice. I'm sitting there, and it was out for about an hour and a half, somewhere in that range. And by the end of it, I'm just like, oh, and I'm like, please come back on, please. Such a white person or rich or not third world.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or third world. I'm messing this all up. First world problem. And I'm just sitting there and I'm just like, God, and I understood it the whole time. Obviously I understand the privilege and everything, but it was just, somebody sitting there and they're like, what would, people have done years ago? And I'm like, yeah, years ago, they wouldn't have to worry about some of the air conditioning stuff, but, it was brutal. 'Cause, my allergies and stuff, and I'm like, even if we open the windows, I'm gonna be a mess, I'm like, there is no win in this. I can't even go outside for a little bit and go, well, I'll just stand out in the rain or something. There was just no win, basically. Right. Other than I was contemplating cold shower.
Sure. Oh, that sucks.
Yeah. But it wasn't that big a deal. It got turned back on like an hour and a half. So it was just the area we were in too, because I looked at the outage map. Because the electric company we have, you can, most of them have it. You can look at the outage map. It was like right around us. So it must have been like a box for right around here. Yep. Must have got hit by lightning or something. And
oh, that sucks.
Yeah. So anyway, yeah.
Well, did I tell you guys about last week I had an episode, I believe it was Wednesday or Thursday, when I got in my head too much. I don't know if I mentioned this last week.
Yeah, you did. You did talk about that.
So and thankfully, my support system was there. My fiance, kind of talked to me about it and stuff and got it out. Well, I kind of wanted to do a follow up on that a little bit for everybody. So I took some time and I thought about it, and I'm still working through things. I think a good portion of it was I have some work to do around jealousy. I think in entitlement and respect, which I didn't realize was such an issue for me. But I really think, it's definitely a place that I need to really work on with myself. I've given a lot of thought to things, and I am trying to understand why I got out of control. It's like why I got so far in my own head. And a lot of it stems from me as a person. I want to make everybody happy, and I want things to be nice and quiet and calm and lovely. And to do that, sometimes I sacrifice myself. Well, part of doing that and sacrificing myself over the years has now given me a false sense of, I don't know when to fight for myself. It's like, when do I stand up for myself? When don't I? When do I let things go and when do I have to stand up? It's almost like, and I hate to even say, because I really wasn't, but it's almost as if someone who's been bullied a good portion of their lives face somebody who's trying to be nice but giving them constructive feedback. It's like they don't know how to take that, because it's very similar to the feelings that they got from the negative situation. Now they're trying to process it in a more positive type of a situation. Still feels similar, but it's different. It's like, when do you defend yourself, and when do you understand that you don't need to defend yourself? Yeah. So it's a lot of stuff like that I need to process. And I think that's where I was overthinking things, and I was getting in my own head because I was really second guessing myself and trying to figure things out. And I started really working on the perceptions 9/10 of my reality. And what is my perception of this? And could there be another perception? Like, can I look at this from a different direction and really kind of get outside my viewpoint and try it from different other viewpoints to gain more information? Another thing that really popped in my head that I was doing a lot of thinking on is, if you can't change the situation, you have to change how you think about the situation. So that really popped in my head, and I had to kind of give some thought to that. So I've really spent the last few days, I've been spending a lot of time and thought and work around what's going on inside my head, why I had such an extreme emotional reaction to things. Was it justified in a logical sense? And trying to work through what's the disease and what's not.
Yes.
You know what I mean? It's like, what is the disease altering things in my head, and what is the reality of things, and trying to kind of work through that mess. And it's not easy by any stretch. It is very difficult, especially when you're trying to kind of do it by yourself. And this is where I would recommend, somebody else was talking to a professional about. But talking to myself, you need to go see a professional. I know I need to, and I need to start making a couple appointments and start to talk to. I don't necessarily think going back on the medicine is the answer at this point, but I am thinking about maybe going and talking to somebody and kind of talking through some of these things with a professional to kind of work them out. Because I really think there's some deep-seated stuff in my past and things that are starting to affect my present, and definitely need a little bit more exploring, some more unraveling, shall we say. So
yeah, and I understand that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and you're probably right.
Yeah, so that's what. So I'm really so that's kind of where I'm at with my journey.
Yeah. So
it's interesting because I also feel that I kind of got myself a little lazy on my work that I was doing with the bipolar and with the tools that I wasn't practicing as much as I should have been. I was doing really well. I was feeling really good. Kind of got a little lax. Kind of bit me in the butt. So
once again, as weird as it sounds, yeah. When you get happy, as we've said before, or you find those moments of happiness, or complacency can bite you in the butt. It really can. And it sounds like I'm being negative, but I'm really not.
No, you're not.
That's the time when you need to make sure that you're doing the work. Keep doing the work, take the time to recognize the win by all means.
Mm-hmm.
Take the time, enjoy that moment or those moments or the however long it lasts, but also make sure that you're trying to do what you can to set yourself up for future moments at the same time. Not just going, I'm just going to sit here for a minute, and ignore everything else down the road.
Well, it's very similar. I mean, training your brain and working with your mind, it's very similar as working with any other muscle. Mm-hmm. You're not going to just wake up one morning and run a marathon, and you're not going to train, win the marathon, and then take the next 6 months off. You can, but if you take those 6 months off, when it comes time for the marathon again, you're not going to be ready.
Yeah, it's probably not going to go well.
Yeah. So if you want to, you didn't happen into those happy moments by chance. You've earned them. You've worked for them. You've gotten yourself in these places for them. Enjoy them. Absolutely. But know that they didn't just happen upon you. You kind of made them happen in your own way. So you need to keep doing what you've been doing to help make those keep happening.
Well, and the thing is, if nothing else, you've changed your mindset to where you recognize them. Like with me, I've had happy moments that I haven't recognized. I've missed wins because of the mindset, because I'm obsessed on something else, or I'm looking at something else, or I'm looking for the next bad thing to happen instead of going, this is happening right now and this is a good thing. And it's like, yeah, but this over here is what I'm keeping my eye on, kind of a thing. And, so changing the mindset is allowing, it allows you to see these things. And if nothing else, that's what you're trying to do. It just, even if those things were happening to you all along, you just, hey, look, you can see these things once in a while now. It's like, oh, hey, this has been here the whole time. Really? It's almost like, oh, I didn't know there was a window over here, Oh, these flowers? What's this bright stuff coming down from the sky? This is, I mean, it's
amazing.
I'm obviously being a tad ridiculous with it, but there are moments that really is kind of how it feels, like you find a window that you didn't know existed in a wall, and so, you know, that's why the work is so important, is because, you know, with these mental illnesses and stuff, you have to keep, or recovery or any of this, it's, you know, you have to keep doing this work, because even with Heno, where he's mentioned in the past, where he's been doing this a lot longer than me and Jen have, where, you know, doing these mindset changes and such, that a lot of times, like, even he has mentioned that he's caught himself sliding, you know, and, you know, so it shows you how even someone who has trained, you know, he's still got to put the work in.
Yeah, because you're not gonna. It's. I say this all the time. It's, you know, I've 10 years of trying to act differently, 30 plus years of acting.
Right.
I mean,
yeah. Yeah.
And, you know, let's look at the balance sheet on that. You know?
Right. Well, that's what I mentioned to someone else, because they asked me how long I plan to stay in therapy. And I was like, well, you do understand, I can trace, like, I know I've been dealing with depression since I was 12. I don't know if I was dealing with depression before that. Okay. I just remember from that point forward. So if I've dealt with depression from 12 until, what was I, 20, or no, 30, what was I, 30?
Let's say 32 for easy math.
Yeah, 32, let's say. That's 20 years of not having treatment for depression. So I had 20 years of it going unchecked. I've been, and even if I went to therapy, which I didn't right away, I've only been in therapy for what, about a year? You know, like.
Yeah, not even.
Right. No, I don't even think it's been a full year. You know, but even if it was 1 year, it's like 1 year of therapy to 20 years of unbridled depression. It's like the math does not, you know, those things don't balance. And I'm not saying I have to have 20 to balance it out, but it's like, there's a good chance I'm going to need, you know, like, I got to put in a lot more work probably before this is going to balance itself completely out here.
The answer is I will go to therapy as long as I feel it's beneficial.
Yeah. And that is the answer. You know, it may be for the rest of my life. It may be another 5 months. Who knows? You know, maybe I'll reach a point.
As long as it feels beneficial to you, keep going.
Right.
There's no reason to stop.
Nope. And maybe I'll reach a point where I'm like, you know, I just don't feel, and there are plenty of people who do that, and not in a, you know, any sort of a snarky manner, but in a, you know, I feel like I can handle this now. And, you know,
and that's not to say you can stop and you can still go back.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's not like once you're out, they're like, oh, you're done.
Well, that's what happened with me, is like, I was done for that period of time. Yeah. Now I have to go out there and put these new tools into practice. And I could have gone back any other time, but I really haven't had to, because I've got a pretty darn good, you know, my squad, you know, it's like I got a great team of people that I can throw things at, and they're going to question me, and they're going to ask the right questions, and they're going to, you know, hey, you know, do you think you might be doing this or that, or blah, blah, blah. So I don't need to go spend the money, because I actually have, and I know, here's the thing is that I am now open to having, the reason I needed a therapist at first is because I needed somebody with a little more of, somebody with degrees on the wall to say, yeah, this is why you should do this, because I told you, you know, I need a little bit of that, like, oh, well, she's a professional, so she must know what she's talking about.
Right.
Even though it might be the exact same thing that 100 friends told me before.
Absolutely. Yep.
Absolutely.
You are totally right, though. Yeah.
But
sometimes
I
it's not the
that.
words, it's a different voice.
Yeah.
It is. It flat out was. Yeah. And then, but then from there, I've been able to now learn that, oh, this isn't, you know, yes, she has skills and training, but I also have other people that know to ask those right questions. Like, what are your motives? And, you know, are you playing the victim right now a little bit? Or that's why, you know, Jen, the stuff that you brought up, that your little observations of yourself, like jealousy, that's not light.
No.
You know what I mean? That's not light self-appraisal.
No, it's not at all. You're right.
No. Yeah. Most people don't want to just open up and say, well, maybe I'm being a little jealous. Or, you know, it's like, no, because our ego says, it's not me.
It's not me. Yep.
And so I mean, I definitely have some work to do. I have lots of stuff bouncing around in my head, and I need to unravel things. You know, I'm in the process of unraveling always in the process of unraveling the stuff that's going on in my crazy brain. But, it's not bad either, because the more I think about it, the more I address it, the less likely I am to act out.
Yep.
You know what I mean? It's like when my bipolar gets the worst, when I start having the really bad stuff, most of the time it's because I've got unresolved things in my head that my head doesn't know what to do with. Yeah. So just like stuff coming out of my mouth and I can't stop it, and just random craziness starts coming out of my head. And if I take the time to stop and go, okay, I hear what you're doing. You're getting kind of goofy in there. Let's stop. Let's organize things a bit. Let's think about things. That's usually when I can get a handle on it better.
Yeah. Well, it makes sense, right? If you have the less you have to aggravate something, the less it's similar. It's the same thing I'm dealing with. It's like I'm trying to go through and get rid of the things in therapy and whatnot that, I've held in for years and years that bothered me from the time I was a teen or going through this and that. It's the same thing. It's like, well, if I can get rid of and process and put away, and I don't mean put away as in bury, but as in put away as in, okay, I'm okay with this stuff. It's part of me. It's made me who I am, but I'm no longer obsessing and blah, blah with it. Mm-hmm. But, if those things aren't constantly needling at you anymore, to me, that's turning the dial completely to mute on one more thing in my head. And eventually I'm not listening to these negative things anymore. Now I can start really listening to the positive ones again. Mm-hmm. And,
right.
And I think it's the same thing with you when your mania flares up, whatever, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I don't really think flaring up is the right term, but it's probably similar to that. 'Cause like you said, you've got something that's just like, about it. And, and if you can kind of remove some of that from it, that's one less thing that could, make it worse, or it's one less weapon for it to have. One less thing for it to attack yourself with, or at least that's the way mine is. I don't know if yours is, but that's the way mine is. And I want to disarm it at all costs,
One of my early ahas that I came to, on my journey to mental health, and mental wellness is I have a real issue with if I know the answer and I don't say it, everyone thinks I don't know. I don't know if that makes sense to you guys or not. But
that's really interesting because that's not about being right.
Yes.
Whereas a lot like me, I would want to say it because it's more about being right.
There's a good portion of that in there too.
Yeah.
But it's like in a classroom setting or in a a meeting or something like that.
Yeah.
If someone else says an answer that I was going to say, part of it is not getting the accolades for having the idea.
Yeah.
But another part of it is that fear that people didn't know that I know that.
Wow. That is really interesting because that is narcissism and self-deprecation in the same thing.
I'm talented,
well,
right?
Not self-deprecation, but it's a lack of self-esteem and narcissism in the same.
Yep.
That's pretty strong.
I'm saying,
yeah.
This noggin here, let me tell you, it does some crazy stuff.
I mean, that's territory I usually slosh around in, so.
Right?
Yeah.
That's some crazy stuff.
Yeah.
Right? And it's really, and I have to physically tell myself, because I'll get anxious, I'll get all worked up about it, and I have to tell myself, I'm like, nobody thinks you didn't know the answer.
Right.
The other person is the one that just answered it.
Right.
It's not a big deal.
Yeah.
Nobody's thinking of you right now. Yeah. The egomaniac with the inferiority complex.
Right. No one's going, oh, hey, Henno got it right. I bet Jen didn't know it. I'll bet she didn't even know.
But Jen's sitting there going, don't you know who I am?
Yeah. Right. I knew all the answers. You call me next time, you'll see.
Right? Yes, yet another one of those wonderful voices in my head. I'm like, it makes no sense.
Right.
It's like, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
But yet on the flip side, there's part of me that's going, he's got a point. You know?
But no.
It's like, but no, it does. It's not logical. It makes no sense. And
Right.
the other part of me is going, maybe you should listen. It's not a bad theory. Come on now.
But the key in that, when you said it's not logical, that's the key. And that's where we go back to, again, distorted thinking worksheets.
Yeah.
And when you have moments and you can catch yourself going, and I'm not saying to you,
Sure.
in particular, but it's, if you catch yourself going, that's not logical, bang, that should pop into your head and go, wait a minute. And that's when you go, how can I now reframe this so I am looking at what's logical? That's the whole point of those worksheets I keep bringing up, is to catch yourself, be aware of what's on them so you can catch yourself when you're not being logical, so that you can then reframe it in a logical way so that eventually you stop looking at things in an illogical manner. And, not so much that you're like Spock, but it's just the fact that it's so that you don't deal in the woulda, shoulda, couldas or the make-believe stuff, so your mind's not racing about all the things. You're not making up conversations. You're not making up what are they thinking about in life. You're focusing on what is actually happening. If I walk into a room and there's 50 people in it, my head goes, oh God, they're probably all making fun of the shirt I'm wearing. Odds are, if anyone in that room it's like 1. And it's probably not even that number. The over-under on that's probably too high. It's like, it's probably no one. They're probably all, if anyone's thinking anything, it's probably like, oh, Brian's here.
Exactly.
The other question in that whole scenario is, why do you care?
Exactly.
And that's, and I've had to I ask myself that a lot.
Right.
It's like, why do you care?
Right.
And
even if they think your shirt is horrible, how does that alter your evening? Like, what does that make any difference? Just why are you going to go change it? Like, that's what my therapist has been doing. Like, if I bring something up and it's a worst case scenario, she has forced me to walk it all the way through. Which for me is, Jen knows this well enough to know, in one hand, I love those things because Tony and I will do that on Salty Language. Like, we'll take something worst case scenario, but we'll do it for the funny angle of it. So when I'm in therapy, I have to turn that part of it off because I want to just be ridiculous with it and have fun with it. But it's like, no, you're doing this for your own good. Like this is to
serious about it.
This is to show you how absurd you're being. In that event, you walk in and even if someone was like, that shirt is the worst shirt I've ever seen, the proper answer is, okay. And you just turn and walk away, right? The end of the night, who cares what they think? Now, I would obsess, blah, blah, blah. And like I said, she'll just walk me through. Okay, well then what? Are you going to go change? Are you going to go buy another shirt? Are you going to throw it away when you get home? Are you going to set it on fire? Like those kind of things. And I love that we've done that because when I do that, I do get into that point and I'm going, wow, this is so ridiculous. If anyone else was doing this to me, I'd be like, you are being ridiculous. Stop it. And I have done that to people. And when I do that, I'm going, again, why am I treating myself differently than I would treat someone else? Like, I would just openly say, stop it. Don't do this to yourself. Like, be as kind to yourself as you would to someone else, basically,
Well, that's one of my fears because as I'm progressing with the wedding plans and everything like that, I'm at the point now where I did my first dress fitting. And in my head, as I'm looking at myself in my dress and trying on different veils and talking about different alterations to the dress, what's going through my head is not, do I think I'm pretty? Do I think this is beautiful? Do I like how this looks? What's going through my head is, will the guests think this is pretty? Will the guests think this? Will my fiance like this? That's what's going through my head. And I've had to stop myself multiple times and going, no, that doesn't matter. If my fiance is not going to stand there at the end of the aisle and see me walking to him and go, oh, honey, no, you picked that dress, and then walk out, he is not the man for me.
Yeah, it's time for a couple middle fingers, kick stun, and call for some Steve Weisers at that point.
I'm saying. So, I mean, and there is no one in their right mind that will go up to a bride and say, really, you picked that dress?
Yeah.
Or really, you went with that look? Mm-hmm. I mean, that's insane.
I'll tell you what, I want to be at the wedding where that happens.
Right?
I'm not going to lie. Because it'll be like, all I need is that person to give me a few minutes notice so I can get my phone out. Because I want to make sure, because I'm going to be yelling World Star the whole time. Because it's about to go down.
Who says anything but you're beautiful,
right.
You're lovely to a bride?
Yeah.
They could be wearing a burlap sack, no makeup, and they're just woke out of bed hair.
Oh, you went non-traditional, eh? A little passive-aggressive.
Oh. You know? And that's what, and I'm like, as I'm looking at myself and I'm going, what are you doing? You know, this is silly. You know, when I got the dress, I did it with the right mindset. When I picked the dress out, I tried on 4 different dresses. I found the dress that I liked, looked really great on me. Had a few other people tell me it looked really great on me. And I'm like, okay, great. It fits the menu. It's the theme I'm going for. If it's look I want, people think it looks good on me. I think it looks good on me. This is my dress. I didn't obsess about it. I didn't try on a million different dresses because I know there was going to be a bunch that would look good on me.
Right.
Wasn't going to search for the perfect dress.
No paralysis by analysis. Sorry, I just wanted to put a callback to an episode in there.
Exactly. I didn't paralyze myself by trying to figure out the optimal perfect dress for
Jen,
the occasion.
It's about being concise. Paralysis by analysis. It's an episode of this program.
Okay, when in your
I know.
Have you ever known me to be concise?
That's why I said it.
I'm sure our audience by now has figured out that concise is not one of my traits. But I just, when it came down to, I don't know where along the path that I lost that. And I need to regain that. Mm-hmm. And I need to really, and make sure that that stays forefront in my mind. Doesn't matter about the flowers.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter about anything other than I'm celebrating getting married to a man that I've chosen to be with the rest of my life.
It comes down to you saying, I'm the princess.
Yeah. What's your freaking moment?
Yeah. And I was saying that half in jest, but also half the truth.
It's your moment.
It's your moment.
Who cares?
Yep.
Like, you own that. That's your moment.
I get to make the moment whatever I want it to be, and it's my moment. Everyone who's going to be there is there to support me in my moment, is to support my fiance in his moment. Yep. And if they are not there to support us, we have a bunch of supporters that will make sure that they aren't there.
Exactly.
Yep. It's, if anything would deter or take away from our happiness, there's plenty of people that will ensure that is resolved very quickly.
Yep.
So I have no fears. I have no jitters. And that's what I keep telling myself. You have nothing to be afraid of. There is no wrong decision. Every decision you make is the perfect decision because it's your decision and you've made it.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And I have to keep drilling that into my head.
But what you're doing right here on this show is you're doing the work. Because you started off by telling us about, starting with that, and then you're talking about it. Like, you're literally doing the work right here. Yeah. Because that's the truth. Is you started out, and the illogical thought is, what are they going to think? And then you were like, wait, who cares? That truly is the reframe. And then the logical thought is anything I do is right because it's my moment. It's for me. They're there to wish me well. And that's all true. There's no illogical thoughts in any of that. You know, that is exactly that is the definition of taking the distorted thinking worksheet and applying it. In case anybody is curious what doing the work looks like, you just laid it out.
There you go, folks.
Yeah.
Example for you.
Yep.
Yeah, and then when those thoughts creep in, they're based on fear.
Mm-hmm.
It's self-centered fear.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, where is the fear coming from?
Mm-hmm.
You know, what have I done to generate this fear? What is it that's part of me that is making me have this? You know, and that's leads you towards a solution, at least, where whatever it is, you just sit there and go, oh, okay, well, it's just natural. There's a multitude of different possibilities. In the end, it comes down to it's just human behavior. It's human nature.
Right.
You're about to be in front of a whole bunch of people.
Yeah. It's really normal to be nervous.
Really normal to have fear, really normal. So then, but can you put it into its proper place, and leave it there for a while?
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, and there is, I mean, when you break it down, there's a good dose of ego in there.
Mm-hmm,
there's a good dose of self-perception and, I can't think of the right words for it. And everybody wants,
some,
I guess
you want some too? Everybody needs some.
Positive feedback. Like, I can't think of there's one word I'm looking for, but it's like positive feedback. It's, approval.
Oh.
Yeah, so it is. Yeah, it's based on approval.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, there's everybody wants approval. That's why, I mean, everybody wants to hear those words and, oh, this was the best wedding ever and stuff like that. Yeah. Everybody wants to hear that type of stuff. Doesn't mean if you don't hear it, it wasn't the best wedding ever for everybody. Doesn't mean it was the best wedding for everybody if they say it.
Yeah, I was just going to say that. Yeah. It's amazing how words are words.
Words are words.
They don't necessarily have meaning. Like even when someone says them, you don't ever know if they're fully true or not,
And when it comes to the wedding, when it really brass tacks, I mean, I want everyone to enjoy themselves. I want everyone to have a great time. But I want me and my fiance to have the best time of all.
Yeah.
So if we're having an amazing time, everyone else will take care of themselves.
Yep.
If they have issues, they have whatever, they will all take care of themselves. If I worry about making sure I have the best time I possibly can, and my fiance has the best time he possibly can, and it's about us, and it's about us enjoying ourselves. So it's tough, and it's easy to make these statements, but making the statements is like the line in the sand. It's the me setting expectations for myself and saying, these are my goals. Am I going to meet them 100%? No. Am I going to be perfect? Of course not. But these are my goals.
It's just funny when you say that, like, drawing the line in the sand, because it's amazing. It's just the first thing that popped into my head is how many people draw the line in the sand and life is the water, and how it just washes that line away.
Yep.
It's like, well, I guess I'll draw another one. Water.
You know why? And that's that's why I don't draw a whole lot of lines in the sand.
Yeah.
It just never works out, to be, I just find you have to be flexible. You have to be able to take it, because you don't, like you said, you don't know how far that water is going to come up that day.
Yeah. I
can draw a line in the sand, and life can just, tidal wave me.
Yeah.
And it's like, if I really made expectations, never good.
Yeah.
I mean, that's why I'm getting married on vacation, because that way I can just be like, hey, how about that vacation?
Yeah. Right?
It's like when your friends come to see you play music and they're like, yeah, you look like you were having fun up there.
Yeah.
Like, thank you for not telling me I suck.
Yeah, right? Oh man, I'm gonna remember that. If I ever see you play live, that's the comment you're getting from me.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter how
guys
good
look
you
like
were.
You're having fun out there.
You could have put on the best set of your life.
I'll tell you what. You go tell that to any musician; they'll know exactly what.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah,
that's the "Have a nice summer" comment.
Yeah.
Or
for an artist, you have great technique.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
That's
Yep.
funny.
Yep.
I heard that one the other day.
Keep being
just brought
you.
back some stuff. It's like, you have great technique for an artist. It's like, no, that's not what they want to hear.
Sure it is. It's perfect.
No, not unless you're a teacher and they're turning in a project.
Yeah. Yeah, if it's a technical review, then yes.
Yeah, that's the only time that's appropriate. Yeah. Technical review.
I don't know. It's not. I mean, it depends on who.
Negative.
It depends on who it's coming from. If one artist tells another artist you have really good line work, that's not an insult because they know the technique. Much like I'm sure, like if one guitar player tells another one something that's technique based, it's probably a pretty good insult. It's a good
right
compliment. So I would think it's probably in that line, but just random person. And I see it all the time on artist Facebook or Instagram when people be like, your line work is that, and it's like, you know nothing of line work,
And I think the other part of it is most of the time artists would rather have you compliment their subject matter or their thoughts behind it or the feeling that it gives you, more of the softer edges of things than their technique, because technique can be learned. The rest of it is organic from the artist.
Yeah. It depends. Like a photographer doesn't want you to say, that model's hot, but they certainly would want you, nice eye, or I love the angles, or those kind of things. You're right. Like they want you to compliment their
artistry,
their framing or whatever. Yeah. But anyway,
what they've brought to it.
That's a whole separate topic. Anyway.
I know, but we're probably getting close to an hour, aren't we?
We're over, yeah.
That's kind of what I figured.
Yeah.
So we were going to talk about a couple things today, but I think we can put a pin in them for later, with the exception of, I did want to make sure I mentioned, we're coming up on the 4th of July, everyone. And the 4th of July is an interesting holiday because...
America! Sorry.
America!
You paused and I just, yeah.
It's a very interesting holiday when it comes to holidays because
America!
It's known as being one of the lesser of the stresses. Christmas comes with a lot of stress and a lot of money usually gets spent at Christmas time. Thanksgiving has its own stressors because it's all about family and everything. 4th of July is a fun one because it's about, fireworks and drinking a few beverages and having hot dogs grilled outside and fun and picnics and play. So it's really an innocuous holiday when it comes to things, except for people who are suffering with anxiety, depression, PTSD. It's a huge, huge one this time of year. And so keep that in mind with, your friends and relatives, the veterans that are around you. This could be a sensitive holiday for them for many, many reasons. One of which, the more in your face, I guess, of it, is the fireworks. Fireworks make loud noises, as we all know. They sound like cannons. They sound like gunshot. They sound like mortars. So those who have PTSD got PTSD from being around those things can be very, very detrimental to their mental health. So please be respectful and understanding and try to keep your head and your heart open to those who have a hard time at the 4th of July. They may not be able to tell you. They may not be able to articulate it. But if you know of someone, try to be aware of where they're at and how they're doing. Check in on them. Make sure they're doing okay. For those that have issues with this time of year, again, just keep an eye on them. Make sure we take care of each other. Be safe out there. Don't do anything dumb. And one last thing, take care of your pets. 4th of July can be a very difficult time for pets as well, especially dogs. Keep an eye on them. Keep them indoors. Make sure they're taken care of and they don't get too much anxiety and too stressed out. Do what you need to make sure that they're taken care of too. So that's my, do. So now you know.
PSA.
My PSA out there for everybody around the 4th of July.
One other thing real quick. I was trying to find it while we were talking and I can't find it, unfortunately. But there are signs available for people, especially veterans, that have PTSD, that basically kind of put that you can put in your sign, or that you can put in your yard, that tell people that you have, that you're a veteran with PTSD. And I don't know, like I said, I can't find where they're available though, dang it. Anyway, so you may contact, I don't know if like the VA or any of those kind of things, but anyway, there's probably information online somewhere, but I know they exist because I've seen them and they look, like pretty uniform. So there must be somewhere that does them. But anyway, so you may look into that, to put in your yard, maybe, to let the neighbors know, or if you are somebody that has it, you may, kind of let your neighbors know that, and ask them about that as well. But like Jen said, just try to keep an eye out for, especially if somebody around you does have it, try to go easy on it, or at least let them know if you're going to be shooting them off. If you're still going to fire them off, at least let them know so that they can be aware of it.
That's a big thing is communication, people. It's all about communication. Let people know if you are having fireworks, let them know. Have good communication about what's going on at your party so people can make informed decision on what's best for them. And don't go too hard on someone if they can't stay or they may not be able to attend your big barbecue. You don't know what's going on in their lives. You don't know what they're dealing with. And maybe the 4th is just a difficult holiday for them. Yeah. So try to be understanding.
Also, for the love of Jeebus, be careful with the fireworks, please.
Oh, please. And in case people haven't figured out by now, oxygen tanks are very dangerous with fireworks. Be aware of the elderly or people who have oxygen tanks in your neighborhoods. Don't be shooting fireworks across their yard.
Yeah.
Come on. Let's be America and let's be America. Let's enjoy ourselves, but let's all be safe and get through it with all our digits attached. It'd be great. None of those crazy stories that I know are going to be all over Facebook. Yeah. What we're going to do to ourselves.
Yep. You know it.
All the good stuff. Anyways, that being said, if you'd like to continue the conversation with me, you can reach me on Twitter at Jen's Crazy Life. I view it often. I don't post often, but I do view it often. So I see what people are saying and I love every minute of it. So please, please, please feel free to reach out to me. You can also reach out to us at thecrazylifepodcast.weebly.com is our website. Our email address is thecrazylifepodcast@outlook.com. And for you, Heno, how can they reach you?
Find me on Twitter at Ida Heno, or look me up on Facebook, HENNO.
Awesome. And you, Brian?
You can find me on Twitter at Stunami. You can also find the show at where'd it go? The Crazy Life Pod on Twitter, where I post when new episodes are going up. Sorry. I thought something was about to autoplay here. You can also check out the other podcast I'm part of, which is Salty Language, on Twitter at salty_language or at saltylanguage.com. That show is very not safe for work, so fair warning. You can check out the blog that I keep telling you I'm going to update and haven't at stunami.wordpress.com. We have a Facebook group over at facebook.com/groups/crazylifepodcast. We are part of 2 Good Time networks. One is Tangent Bound Network, which can be found at tangentboundnetwork.com, which is full of fine folks. And then there's one ran by some bum named Dev, which is the Wicked Radio Network, which you can find at wickedradionetwork.com. But that's none of my business. Mm-hmm. Also, we're part of the Pottern family, which I keep forgetting to mention, and shame on me for that. But so go check out that group. If you want to check out new podcasts, there's a whole bunch over there. You can check it out on Twitter at #PotternFamily, or if you just look at Pottern Family on Twitter, you can find a whole bunch of shows that are just smaller podcasts just retweeting each other, trying to get some support for each other. Excuse me. And then as normal, I will tell you we're not doctors or therapists or trained professionals. If you find yourself feeling like you need some help, please seek out professional help. Don't self-diagnose yourself. And again, this show should not be viewed as like a replacement for therapy or taken as therapy, that kind of thing. We're just three people sharing our experiences. That kind of thing. And again, don't self-diagnose, because that can be harmful if you don't, if you go down the wrong path or whatever here. And please don't self-medicate either. Again, get with a professional and get a good game plan and support system going that way. And if you're feeling suicidal, first of all, please don't act on those feelings. And also, when I say suicidal, I also mean basically any step in the process, but especially if you're planning anything, or if you are going to do something, if you're really feeling that way, contact the suicide prevention hotline number, or text 741-741, and they'll try to help you work through your crisis. Or call 911, tell them that you're having a mental health emergency, or if you have, a friend or someone in your support system that you can contact, do that. Just please don't be alone, and please don't act on those things. And I have one last thing to mention, which is I actually found, looks like where those signs can be found. And it's probably a little late, but I'm going to mention it anyway. And it looks like it's www.militarywithps, I'm screwing it up. Let's try it again. www.militarywithptsd.org. And it looks like you can get the signs there. It looks like it's a nonprofit. So anyway, I'll have the link in the show notes also if you want to share it with anyone or whatever. So
awesome. Remember, everyone, isolation feeds the disease. So pretty much any mental illness, it thrives off of isolation. So get out of your own head, get to your support support groups, whatever they may be. Just make sure you talk about it. Make sure you get people involved in it, and help you fight those demons and help you fight things away. With that, keep breathing, everyone. Be safe. Have a great time. And we'll be here next week.